So my name is Mahtab Hussain. I am an artist. I work in photography, film, sculpture, also installations, and I guess that's kind of evolved over the last 20 years. So I started working with Multistory it's a funny story, I guess. So I ended up connecting with Emma through Martin Parr, and it was kind of off the cuff. I was in Hull exhibiting some of my work at a salon there, and I just went up to Martin because, we all know who Martin Parr is, and I just started telling him about the work I'd been making in Birmingham. I was building my first series, my You Get Me series, looking at Muslim men and their sense of masculinity, really specifically trying to kind of open up that narrative about the complexity of the Muslim experience. And Martin was working with Emma at the time, doing a big project around the Black country stories, and he just gently, I think, nudged my name her way. And then we met probably about 6-7 months later at my studio at the Custard Factory, and I had some of my work on the wall, so we kind of spoke about my practice, and Emma there and then offered me a commission, which was like my first major commission, and it was the quickest thing that I've ever experienced in terms of like, well, let's work together. And then that was in 2011. So then about a year later, I started to kind of work on my project called The Quiet Town of Tipton. So when I met Emma, she talked about an area called Tipton, and so that it would be a really interesting community that I could work with. And I knew about Tipton because of at that time there was the Tipton bombers, which famously went to Guantanamo Bay, and also a Channel 4 film was made about them as well. So I was aware of this situation and this kind of the difficulty that community was under in terms of media scrutiny, but also with the wider community around Tipton. So it felt like a really good space to go and work and connect with the community. And there was tension back then around the Muslim experience. Sadly, it's heightened even more so than ever before. And so when that moment happened, I really wanted to go in and connect with the community, not just to talk about the impact of the nail bomb that exploded outside the mosque, but also understand like how this community came to Tipton, why they stayed, how the mosque was built. So these were all the questions that I wanted to kind of answer within my photographic practice, and that's how the journey evolved. So why this story was important for me was it firstly gave me an opportunity to move away from just photographing kind of men. I ended up photographing women, the elders. It was the first time I've made a body of work connecting with the elders, and also young children. So there was this whole mix of ages in the series. I think what it did was give a voice to the community who were very scared of the impact of not just the bomb incident, but also the Tipton 3. I think also it made the community understand the power of owning your own narrative and sharing that widely, and also just to tell a more honest story about what this community is, who this community is, how incredibly British they feel, proud they feel being part of England. So it was really important to do something local. One of the things we did was have a small exhibition at the local library, where not only was the community able to come and see the work, but also the wider community, i.e. the kind of white working class community around Tipton. So it was a nice moment to kind of have that intervention in that space. The other thing we did was there was some kind of fair going on around at Victoria Park, and we decided to kind of have a book signing there for the community to come and get their copy of the book. So I was there, and it was really lovely. So many of the people that were in the book and that I met over the 2 years came, and it was just a really heartwarming exchange. There was lots of laughter, and so that was a really moving, lovely moment. And then, of course, those who weren't able to make it, that's when I went knocking around and giving them a copy of the book as well. So those were the kind of local things that ended up happening. The cool things that happened outside of that was a journalist approached me at BuzzFeed and published the work online. It was my first kind of major BuzzFeed moment, which was really cool, and it was really well done, and I was really proud of that. Echo also curated a group show called Kaleidoscope at Somerset House, and there was 3 portraits from the series that made that group show. And the other cool thing that happened was when my You Get Me series was shown at Autograph in London, I was struggling to find enough young children in my You Get Me series to be part of the exhibition, because there was this very specific curatorial wall that we wanted to curate, and it was all about young children or young boys. And so I was able to, go back into my archive and use some of the portraits from the Tipton Commission and bring that into the show. And I did credit Multistory at the exhibition for that. So it was really lovely. And I think it was one of the first times actually that I was able to kind of use my archive in that way to help curate a certain type of message. So these are all the lovely things that happened because of the commission.